Hi, this video is looking at tasks 1 and 2 of the second AAT AMAC, what's it called again? Applied Management Accounting at level 4. So I will share the screen. So here we have the opening bit. Remember, it's only tasks 2, 4 and 7 that will be human marked. They are on specific tasks. Topics. So task 2 is task 2 is based on budgeting, so you can expect to write on that. Task 4 is based on costing methods, so you can expect to write on those. And task 7 is key performance indicators, so you can expect to write on those. Right, so it sort of narrows down your preparation for the written questions. But without further ado, let's have a look at these. So task 1, 12 marks. So this is kind of your knowledge of budgeting. Identify what will be the principal budget factor for most organisations. Well, we normally start with what we can sell. That's our ideal. So that should be the answer to that one. Yeah. Complete the following statement about budget setting, where a senior manager sets the budget for other departments. This is top down. An advantage of this type of budgeting is that it is, well, it's not thought to be motivating. It's going to be quicker because you just do it and there you go. So I think I'm going to go with that as the answer. Yes. The departmental budget holders may feel they're going to feel demotivated because it's basically being imposed upon them. Identify who would be responsible for the following variances. Right, so a price variance for materials, so that would be the purchasing manager. Usage variance, so how much do we use, would be the production manager. A labour rate variance would be how much we're paying people, so that would be the HR manager, and sales volume would be the sales manager. Seems quite straightforward. Identify the appropriate technique used to manage budget uncertainty. So we've got a drag and drop this time, where the budget is changed to reflect a different volume of activity. So that would be a flexible budget, where the budget is updated and extended at the end of a set time period. So that's just where you keep sort of moving forward month by month. So that would be a rolling budget, where an individual variable within a budget are adjusted to see the effect on performance. So simulation, that's sort of where you sort of try something. It's not really that. It will be sensitivity analysis, because basically you're seeing if I change something, then how sensitive is my results to that change. Multiple variables within a budget are adjusted to see the effect on performance. So that would be a simulation where you just try something totally different. And that's the end of task 1. So making sure you know that terminology. Task 2, about budget preparation, evaluation and revision. Right, so this one's going to have a bit of computational and a bit of written. So X Limited has decided to move to a more efficient inventory holding system for a new range of products. The new system will reduce the standard amount of waste from 10 to 5% and will also result in a permanent saving of £10,000 from a reduction in the level of inventory held. Right, so it's a new range of products. So immediately there's a lot of uncertainty there. How do we know how things are going to go if it's a new range of products? A more efficient inventory holding system, I assume it means more efficient than for their old range of products. The new system will reduce the standard amount of waste from 10 to 5. Again, it's a bit, I'm sort of struggling a bit, because I'm thinking if it's a new range of products, what are we comparing it to? The amount of waste from 10 to 5%, but okay, we'll have to accept. A permanent saving of £10,000 from a reduction in the level of inventory held. So if we're holding less inventory, how do we save money? Well, we're saving money by having less warehouse costs. So we don't have to pay so much rent, we don't have to pay so much insurance, we don't have to pay so many people to look after it. There's less risk of it being stolen or wasted, just deteriorating. So I'm guessing that's sort of where that £10,000 saving there is coming from. For the 4 months from April to July, they've forecast that they would produce a total of 17,100 units, with each unit using 2 kilograms, excluding the waste. Excluding the waste. So I'm sort of beginning to question, well, does that mean that wording? I know people say, what's the wording? But 2 kilograms excluding the waste. So I'm assuming that means we're putting in 2 kilograms and then we need to account for the waste, but we'll see if that becomes clearer in the question. Each kilogram would cost £2.25, all purchases paid for immediately. The raw material used in the new range is not used in their other products and is currently in short supply due to production constraints by the only supplier of this material. Well, I've got alarm bells ringing there, left, right, and centre. So, you know, something goes wrong with the new product, we're stuck with all this material, be it that we've reduced the amount we're holding, but it's in short supply and there's only one supplier. So that just sniffs of like lack of competition and then being able to put up the price unexpectedly. So just sort of a few thoughts as I've just sort of read through that intro. So then we go on, calculate the following items to be included in X Limited's budget. Show your answer to the nearest whole number. Right, so okay, so the current system we know is going to have 10% waste. The new system they've said is going to have 5% waste. The total amount of kilograms required for production excluding waste. The total amount due to waste. The total costs including the waste. Right, okay, so this top one I'm now reading is saying it must be the kilograms like after the waste has happened. So how much do we actually need to make our product? So with the current system, 10% waste, and the new system with 5% waste, the amount that we need to end up with is going to be the same. And that same figure is going to be the 17,100 units, and each one needs 2 kilograms. So 17,100 times 2 kilograms, excluding the waste. So that's what needs to go in, and that comes to 34,200. As I say, it doesn't matter which system we're using for that, because that, you know, that's what you've got to end up with after the waste. So for the current system, that 34,200 represents 90% because there's going to be 10% waste. So to get to the waste, I need to do 34,200 divide by 90 and multiply by 10. Whereas with the new system, the 34,200 represents 95%. So I'm going to do 34,200 divide by 95 and then times by the 5 because I want 5%. So that comes to 1,800. The total cost of material required for production, including waste. Now you've got to be careful here, because originally I sort of thought, oh, there's the 90, the 10 and the 100, but it's not. These are the kilograms, and now it's asking the cost of the material required, including the waste. Right, so what we need to do here then is figure out for the current system, then the 100% kilograms figure will be these two added together, which is 38,000. And we were told that it's £2.25 per kilo. So I'm going to do 38,000 times £2.25. So that's in pounds. And then for the new system, again, add both of these together, which comes to 36,000 multiplied by the £2.25. So that comes to 81,000. Then I'm asked, what's the total saving from the new system? So how much have I saved? Well, I've saved, what's that, 4,500. But don't forget the other £10,000 reduction will also result. So bit of a tricky one. So it's the 10,000 plus the 4,500, giving an answer of 14,500. So we then come on to the written component. So it says, discuss factors that could affect the reliability of the forecast saving calculated. So you remember in the first AAT sample assessment, you had a 12 marker discussing budget assumptions. So it's kind of similar, basically saying how reliable are these figures. So it's 6 marks, it's discuss. So I would be going probably for 2 factors. Now the phone's ringing. Hopefully it will go into answer phone. We've got 2 factors in detail. So that would be 2 factors, 3 marks each. Just see. It's my mum. Right, discuss factors that could affect the reliability. Sorry, it threw me off track. So we're either going to do 3 short paragraphs that will give us sort of 2 marks for each one, or maybe if you can only think of 2 points, try and elaborate on each one a bit more. The mark scheme actually says, all right, to get in the 4 to 6 mark band, you've got to do a minimum of 3. Right, so we're looking for 3, and each one's going to give us 2 marks. Right, so what did I say here? I went for this raw material is in short supply due to production constraints by the only supplier. If there is no competition, it is quite possible this supplier will unexpectedly increase their price per kilogram. So that would be my first point. So I'm looking for 3 for the 6 marks. I then went on to say it is unclear how the £10,000 permanent saving from holding reduced inventory is calculated. Presumably, it relates to cost savings around storage costs and reduced risk of theft or deterioration if holding less stock. However, this is quite difficult to quantify. So we're talking about factors that could affect the reliability of the forecast. So if it's hard to quantify, then, you know, the reliability of the forecast is dodgy. Then the third paragraph that I came up with was just sort of focusing on the fact it's a new range of products. So this is a new range of products. So it must be difficult to accurately calculate sales demand and therefore production requirements and therefore material requirements, as well as difficulty in establishing the wastage percentages. I mean, basically just saying it's a forecast, so everything's difficult, but trying to sort of plug it back into the question that's been asked, right? So it's discuss. So hopefully that would give me 6 marks, 3 points, and each one's been elaborated upon. X Limited is about to launch a new product in March. This product is unlike the existing products sold by the company. In order to generate initial sales volumes, X Limited is considering changing its credit terms for this product and undertaking a significant promotional campaign. X Limited is unsure of the precise effect these changes will have on sales volumes, but has budgeted for sales income of 220,000 in the first 3 months. So a lot of uncertainty. Again, it's a new product. They're bringing in these new ideas, but are they going to work? What evidence is there that they're going to work? Why are they doing it? How on earth have they come to this sales income figure of 220,000? What volumes is it based on? So a lot of difficulties here. So then it tells us a little bit more about currently the business gives 30 days credit, looking to increase this to 60 days. So I guess the hope is that by offering customers longer credit, they're more likely to come and buy from X Limited. We don't know what competitors are doing. Do they already offer 60 days, or is this going to give us a competitive advantage? The downside is that it's anticipated irrecoverable debts would increase from 5% to 8%. So obviously the longer people have to pay, the more risky it gets. There's also a cost of capital involved here. If you've got your working capital tied up in offering an extra 30 days credit, it means you're not using that capital to buy in your stock or make other investments in your business. So that's something else to consider. The promotional campaign, which will be a first for the company. Oh, there we go again, another trailblazer. Is it going to work? Why do we think it's going to work, etc.? Will involve extensive product placement adverts across 2 main social media sites for 2 weeks. So lots of questions there. Why product placement? That's basically where someone's seen using your product. 2 main social media sites. What 2? Are they the right ones? Are they appealing to our target audience, target market? 2-week period. Is that long enough? Right, so basically you're just raising questions. So identify, first of all, the stages and features of the product life cycle. Right, so that surprised me because it's nothing to do with really what I've just read. It's a very theoretical question. Identify the stages and features of the product life cycle. So thinking the other AAT practice assessment, we saw a 4-marker that was asking for different limiting factors. So here again, it's identify, it's just bullet point answers really for the stages and features of the product life cycle. So if you've done your homework, you will know that they are introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. It's not just identify the stages, it's and features. So you would then have to say a brief word about each of these. So introduction, high fixed costs, limited competition because you're just introducing a new product, limited market as appeal to early adopters, people who like to get in first. Growth, more variable costs, more competition, wider market. Maturity, remember this is only 4 marks, I don't want to go mad. So less promotion needed. Oh, we could have added that in there, lots of promotion required. Right, so less promotion needed, less growth. Just to say there is a decline. May have to reduce price to maintain sufficient demand. Maybe costs to withdraw from market. So not really applied there. It's just asking, identify the stages and features of the product life cycle. So actually nothing to do with what we just discussed for X Limited. But then we come to part D, 6 marks. Evaluate the expected impact of both the change in credit terms and the planned promotional campaign. Right, so 6 marks. And again, if we look at the kind of the mark scheme, it says here to get 4 to 6 marks, the highest band, you have to, bear with me. Oh yeah, so it's saying again a minimum of 3 areas identified. I'm not sure if I think they've just cut and paste that from the previous one. Do you know that? Because there aren't 3 areas here. You've got to talk about the credit terms and the planned promotional campaign. So how would I approach this? I would have a heading for credit terms, and then I would say what's good and bad about what they are proposing. So this bit very much applied. Incidentally, you've got 6 marks here that's applied. You had part B was 6 marks applied, so that's 12 marks applied about sort of what's good and bad about a budget basically, or a plan, and then 4 marks not applied, just knowledge of your theory. If we compare that to the first AAT sample assessment, we had 12 marks applied and 4 marks just churning out theory. So you can see the pattern, all right? Right, so credit terms, I have said, it is assumed that offering more generous credit terms, 60 days instead of 30, will attract more customers, although it is uncertain whether or not this will actually happen. Shouldn't say we. It is unclear if 60 days is the norm and is the same as competitors, or whether this gives X Limited a competitive advantage. Try and use the names of the companies, just makes it that bit more applied to the question. The downside, remember, evaluate, talk about the pros and cons, come to some sort of conclusion if you can. The downside of this strategy is there will be associated costs, such as the predicted irrecoverable debts, because the longer people have to pay, then the more risky it becomes. Also, there is the fact that working capital will be tied up offering extended credit to customers, and therefore is not available for other purposes. I know I've done a typo there, I'm not going to worry. Overall, I think we can leave it at that actually. Right, so credit terms and then the promotional campaign. I mean, again, you're just really questioning sort of, you know, the pros and cons. So the assumption is that product placement on social media will attract customers, but there is no evidence of why this plan has been decided upon. Consideration should be given to competitor promotional activity, the choice of social media sites, and whether 2 weeks is sufficient for this type of promotion. I went on to say the campaign is a new venture for X Limited, so the outcome is difficult to predict. Right, so what we're basically doing in these challenge budget assumption type questions is posing questions, saying, you know, it's uncertain, we haven't got the evidence, you know, and just trying to pin it back into the question as much as you can. Okay, so that concludes task 2.